meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sue Shalafu Zephyr, and I'm the chair of the Legal Affairs Subcommittee. And this evening, we have a public hearing on petition 7-26. Carrie Noseworthy, Ward 5 Councilor, requests the installation of a four-way stop at the intersection of Abbott Avenue and Lindell Avenue to address ongoing safety concerns. So this has been given regular course. We had a public hearing at the end of August, and we continued it to this evening. So this evening, we do have Captain Frere here from the Leominster Police Department. We have the Chief Mulattoes from the Police Department, as well as Oh, it was an invitation. It is an invitation. I'm sorry. It is an invitation. And we have the neighbors as well, Clarice and Dan Umel, that we'd like to join you, if that's okay. Yeah. So I'm going to let the petitioner, Councilor Noseworthy, if you want to just give a little bit of context for the petition, and then we can have our conversation with the police.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the petitioners had reached out to me. Geez, I'm thinking now is probably May was the first time, to talk about the safety concerns they had at the intersection of Lindell and Abbott Avenue. It was shortly after that another constituent actually reached out to me in a neighboring street with the similar concerns. I myself also live on Smith Street, so I often drive through this intersection. So in looking at all of the information after meeting with the Umels and kind of hearing what was going on and understanding that this has been an ongoing concern, and when I was looking through all the emails and everything that came from Leominster Police Department, it's going back now, I think, 3 ward councilors worth. So my biggest concern is even if it doesn't tend to be a four-way stop, I would like to find a way, since there's so much history here, to find a way that to mitigate these safety concerns moving forward, because even if the UMLs moved out tomorrow, whoever moved in is going to have the same concerns.
Yep.
And the last thing I'll add is that, yes, you could talk about the averages per year, but I think they've endured just under 30 accidents or so on their property, and that's a lot, because to me one of the mitigating pieces is that this intersection only has one house, so it's not impacting anyone else, and they're taking the brunt. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to go, I guess, to Captain Frere.
Yeah, sure. So when we looked at the request, first of all, we do have history. It's come before the council previously. I didn't bring all the previous stuff. In the background, Sergeant Robichaud had done a lot of work at that time and come up with a lot of different solutions. And most of the issues are brought on, from what we have from our data, by speed. Some of a couple of bad accidents. I remember one that was the person ran the stop sign coming off of Abbott Ave coming from the highway, and that one was a pretty bad accident. Sergeant Robichaud came up with a few different options. One of which that was intriguing was speed tables. Speed tables are different than speed bumps. They start off at a lower degree angle, then they kind of flatten out, then they go back down, and they're really based over time. But they do have a negative effect when it comes to plowing and ice buildup and those sorts of things, and there's not a lot of them in our part of the country at all because of those reasons. They start to build like ice dams. When some of the spikes get ice underneath them, it expands, it pushes them up, it grabs a plow, does thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage. Can actually, some of them could actually push that plow truck right off the road, even the bigger ones. Okay, so that one kind of wasn't a great option. When it comes to the four-way stop, there's all sorts of back and forth language when it comes to the MUTCD guidelines, which we stay to for liability purposes. Historically, we've stayed to them. I think most of the time when things come before us, or they come to us for opinion, when they comply, we really don't ever have an issue with things. But when things start to get kind of out of them, then we speak up, or we see some issues that could happen down the road. So what is this going to create? And looking at this, the last traffic study that we did on Lindell Ave, we set up a traffic trailer. So the traffic trailers that show you the speed, they do more than just show you the speed. They record a lot of data. So they record how many cars are coming towards them. They're set for one way each. That's the way we have them because it's much more accurate when you do that. So it's only getting vehicles that are coming towards them. When the vehicles come towards them, it's recording the speed at which it initially sees the vehicle. It can record multiple vehicle speeds at the same time, and it can record the change in speed that the effect the sign had. So if they'll record the speed, and then it knows when the sign flashes, and then if that car slows down, it'll record how much that, you know what I mean, the percent decrease there. They also count cars. So we had one up the street and we had one down the street, and from 6:23:25 to 7:7:25, eastbound recorded 28,062 cars in that 2-week period. Out of those 28,062 cars, we had 85 cars that were going from 46 to 50, 28 that were going from 51 to 55, 3 that were going from 56 to 60, and 2 that were going from 61 to 65. And the times that they were speeding, I've sent this chart in, and they're kind of highlighted in yellow. The speeds are at all times from 3 a.m. right down to 11 o'clock at night. And then westbound. Westbound was more traffic. It was 39,206 cars. And then there was definitely more speeding going on westbound, which you all can see on the charts that I gave you. Now, they don't differentiate between police vehicles, ambulances, and fire trucks either. So,
Can I just ask you, westbound is going up the hill? Which is westbound? I'm just wondering.
Westbound is going towards Merriam Ave from
Right.
North Main.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a hill on both ends.
Yeah. Yeah, it peaks in the center.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you. I just
So when we look at the accidents that we've had there over the years, there's been a bunch. I don't know when you all moved in, but I was able to pull the data from 2005 from Mass DOT, and they collect all of the accident reports that we write. So, I sent this to you today, and I wish I could have expanded on it more, but so in 2005 there was 1, 2007 there was 2, 2008 there was 3, and it goes on. They went as high as 4 a year on 3 different years: 2014, 2021, 2022. The issues that we really think that we want you to consider is, well, first of all, four-way stops are not designed to stop speeding. all right? And I gotta tell you, the speeding issues all over town and the traffic complaints all over town in every area have gone up exponentially in the past few years. Our numbers have not. So there's only so much of us to spread out through the city. This is one of the only places, Lindell Ave has seen a 16% increase in directed patrols from officers, and it's probably the only place in the city that's seen an increase. That and, I'm sorry, Upper Mechanic Street because of all the problems that we had up there. But that's it in the city in terms of increase in directed patrols. And you all know better than anyone, we get a lot of requests for traffic stuff. So, and we try to get them all, but some of them take a while. I think we probably have a 4 or 5 week waiting list for our traffic trailer right now because of we have 3 of them. So we've been up there. They've written tickets up there, but they can't be up there all day long. And at the end of the day, we need people to kind of do the right thing and be safe. And unfortunately, we just can't control the public all the time. The problem is when we start trying to put in 4-way stops for speeding, that where we have those issues where people are already speeding, what ends up happening is they pull up to the stop sign, and as long as they stop, if they don't do a rolling stop, they end up speeding away, and it seems like they're trying to make up time. Does that make sense? That's one of the things that's one of the reasons that MUTCD talks about why we don't use 4-way stops to control speeding. It results in people taking off at faster rates. It's definitely going to result in a lot more traffic at that intersection, a lot more people stopping at that intersection, which is going to lead to noise complaints. It's definitely going to increase litter. It's going to increase all those other issues that we have at every other 4-way stop. Plus, it's going to end up affecting traffic at other intersections. So anytime we take a major, like that's a main road. So anytime you take that main road, and I mean, that's been a main road for the city since I was on the DPW back in 2000 when I started salting and sanding. That was on the main road list. Like that's back when we used to use sand and salt, and that was always one of the main road salt roads, just because of the amount of traffic that it gets. So anytime that you have a main road that you end up putting a stop sign at, you end up affecting all the other intersections down there too. So people that are going to be taking off at higher speeds as they go over the hill and they're coming down the hill and they're going around the bend towards Highland Ave, we're going to see increases in accidents down there. We're going to see increases in accidents near Campobasso, things like that. Actually, the accident difference between those intersections isn't that big in Mass DOT.
I just have a question about that, because when you were talking about, the number of accidents over the years at that particular intersection, and it has additional patrols, my question was, how does this compare with other places throughout the city?
Oh, this is way less. So if we were going by these standards, we would have a 4-way stop on Mechanic at 3rd, Mechanic in 5th, Mechanic in 6th, Mechanic in Johnson. We'd have a 3-way stop there. In fact, we would have 4-way stops all up Merriam Ave, wherever there's a crossover. You know what I mean? Or 3-way stops. Actually, Mass DOT just gave us the list of places where they recommend. So they do recommend 4-way stops when you have certain types of accidents, and their engineers do all that data. They actually just gave us the. If I can find it in here, they just gave us the numbers on where they recommend that the new 4-way intersections be placed. And did I not bring it? I brought everything. So they're talking about. Right here. Total in the last 3 years. So there's that plus that 3+ number, which I believe you talked about in your email to me. Water and Summer Streets, three-way stop. West Street and Washington Street, West Street and West Street and Orchard Street, West Street and Hall Street, Mechanic 3rd and Walker, Lancaster, Marguerite Ave, Central Street and Tisdale, North Main and Moore Street. We just redid North Main, and they're talking about us putting in stop signs on North Main Street at Moore Street, which is, I would personally think, just ridiculous. It's 2 lanes in every direction. But Mechanic and 3rd, 12 accidents in the last 3 years. West Street and Washington Street, 13 in the last 3 years. And those are just the angled accidents. That doesn't include all the other ones. So we have intersections that are in the hundreds for the last 15 years. We've had hundreds of accidents at intersections.
Right. I think this, from my perspective, I think this area is a little bit different because it's not necessarily speed, it's the sight lines, right? It's the people that are coming up that hill. They really can't see,
I agree.
Abbott Avenue, the 2 entrances from Abbott Avenue onto Lindell. So, I understand that stop signs don't mitigate speeding,
Yeah.
and that's why I guess we're asking if there's another approach. So,
I honestly think there is. So when it comes to that, we can look at, so Abbott Ave inbound looking left. So this is coming off the highway, looking left when you're at the Doyle Estate.
From Abbott on the other side.
Abbott
That's
Ave.
our corner.
Sorry, this is the wrong one. Yeah, okay. So this is looking left at your house.
Yeah, but not from the stop line.
That's from the stop line. I took that right from the stop line. I'm not gonna lie about it.
Stop
I
sign is in the
wouldn't
front.
lose my
I'm
job
not
over
suggesting
it.
that you're lying.
But this
I'm
is,
suggesting that
this
Okay.
is,
It's not
this is looking to the right. So even there, the old historic stone walls and things like that, they obstruct visibility. The other side, if you're coming from the highway, it's easy when you're looking right, because that's the way the road curves.
right, it's the
But
road
then this
curve,
way,
I think
not
that's
only
the
do you have
problem.
the stone walls, but you have these big, huge bushes, and it's extremely dangerous.
No, it is. I travel up and down that road all the time, unfortunately, but I've seen people, pull out quickly, and I'm sympathetic, to the accidents that have occurred there. So I understand that the stop signs, won't help in that area. The sight lines are the problem, so, is there any other way to mitigate that? I mean, certainly some of those, I think that's, the big bushes, I think, are on the trustees' property, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
correct,
do you have something to say? I'm sorry,
No,
Chief.
I
didn't
was
mean to-
agreeing with you about the sight line.
Okay, the sightlines are definitely the problem. So I guess, as the public safety experts, I'm asking you, what would be a good recommendation for that intersection? Because it's,
Personally, I think all the site, well, I think you have a couple options. I think there should be orders from the city to remove anything that's blocking any sight lines. I don't know if we can touch the old historic rock walls. I doubt it. But in terms of bushes and things like that, I think that they should all be cut back. I also do think that it would be a rotary fits that area.
right,
But that would be a huge uphill battle because you would have to take so much land from the trustees of the reservation. I don't know if that would be a long drawn out court battle. I don't know if that would ever happen. And you'd have to move all the underground and above ground utilities significantly back because the way
has
that
a
they
plan, yeah, right, has a plan over the years ever been looked at? I mean, has a rotary plan ever been looked at for that area? I mean,
not that I know of.
not that you're
Not that I
aware
know
of?
of either, no.
Okay,
No. But one thing,
Yep.
the only thing that I will recommend is if you do go forward, we got to have somebody has to have an engineering study done. And that'll answer all the rest of those questions. So those traffic engineers, they're amazing. They'll be able to tell you speeds. They'll be able to tell you impacts on surrounding intersections. They'll talk about sight lines. They'll talk about everything. And that's way more than we have the ability to get into.
okay, no, I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to go to the council. Does anybody have any questions for either the chief or Captain Frere? No? Is there anybody in the public who has, well, I'll go to the emails. Do you have any questions for either the police chief or the captain?
The only thing that comes to mind on what Captain said is that if you go to the intersection
Can we use the microphones, please?
Sure.
Is this the actual petitioner, or is the Ward 5 council the petitioner here?
The Ward 5 is the Ward 5 is the petitioner, and I asked the neighbors to come. So, go ahead.
If you are going northbound, crossing Lindell on Abbott,
Yes.
so heading towards Route 2,
Yep.
the stop line is about 10 feet ahead of the stop sign. So if you actually go to the stop line, it's 10 feet ahead of the stop sign.
Okay.
Because you can't see anything if you stop at the stop sign. So the stop line had been moved forward
In the road. like
as
way up.
part of our interest in having, because it was a safety issue.
Sure.
That happened earlier in one of our earlier petitions, was moving that.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to say that anyone did anything wrong, but those photos were taken from the stop sign, not the stop line, which are very different.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. By the way, you're not allowed to put stop lines in front of stop signs.
We didn't request it.
I know. It
Right,
shouldn't
somebody was
be
just-
like that. It's a stop sign, you have to stop at the sign.
Okay, but then you have to creep out to be able to see
You
what's
have to.
coming, and it's scary.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another, sorry, I don't want to cut back in, but another great thing would be to get rid of the connection to Route 2. That would be
close that
amazing.
off?
100%. We can't do that. That's not a city. We're not allowed to. I think we tried in the past, and I think the state said, knock it off.
That's correct.
Yes. So that is essentially, it's a paper street now.
Okay.
We have to maintain it because we have utilities that go underneath it, underneath Route 2. So we have to keep that maintained. But my recommendation, work with local legislators and have them remove that from the state level because we can't shut that off as a city.
Okay. That's an option to explore, certainly. It sounds like it would be a challenge, but do you guys have anything else to add?
The only thing that we wanted to say was that as having the front seat, like we are just front and center here, we have been working just from the perspective of safety. We see people trying to cross that on bicycles, with baby carriages. There are hiking trails across the street, and it's a jewel of the city. It really is, but it's also taking your life in your hands to try to get there. And so this is something we inherited when we bought our home, and it's a poster of the trustees when we bought our house from the trustees. So you can see clearly that it's the arc of the street that comes to an apex right where our house is. So like the captain said, this side is easier because it's on the concave side or convex side of the angle. And so we're on the concave side of the angle, which means that naturally we have less visibility. But then the street falls away within 150 feet. You can't see because of the curve of the street. So safety is our only concern. We are not concerned about speeding. If we were concerned about speeding, we wouldn't live there. We're not concerned about screeching tires and honking horns and people yelling because we hear it every day. But what we would like is to have an opportunity to make it safe for everybody. Because unfortunately, the shape of the street it's not a going across mechanic where it's a cross where you can see in all directions. It's just a challenge. And unfortunately, it's challenged because of that. We have been in contact with the trustees. They are absolutely game for whatever makes it safer because people are coming to their property to get there. We've also been in touch with the MWRPC because they're right across the street, and they're very up to date on the situation at this corner and interested in finding a solution. And we are only here because we're the only people who speak up for it, but there are lots and lots of people who suffer trying to cross it, even on Lindell.
Absolutely.
Trying to get through that intersection on Lindell isn't safe. You can't see either way, on Lindell or on Abbott. So that's the only reason we're here. And we're not trying to change anything for anybody except from the perspective of safety. I mean, we've lived in our house almost 14 years. So we were initially concerned about speed. We thought that was the problem. But we've been at this long enough now to know that The problem is just the lay of the land. It's just sightlines. And anything that can be done to help that. We wanted a crosswalk. We were told no, because there's not enough visibility for a crosswalk. Well, if there's not enough visibility for a crosswalk, then we know we have a bigger problem. So, the end. Thank you.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. I mean, I think we all understand that area and the problem. I guess the question is sitting down with the right group of people to figure out a process or something going forward. So I appreciate, I know the time that you guys have put in, and I really appreciate the work that you've done as well, collecting the data, and sharing that with everybody. So if there's anybody in the audience who would like to comment at all on this petition, four-way stop sign at Lindell and Abbott Avenue? For a second time, is there anybody? Oh, Council Frida, sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you live exactly.
At the intersection of Abbott and Lindell Avenue.
What's that?
At the intersection of Abbott and Lindell
At the
Avenue.
intersection? And I don't know if you were there in 2013. So we went through this in 2013. I definitely remember how much discussion we had, you and I think the Ward 5 councilor at the time, and Lieutenant Bernier, and Aaron Kennedy was traffic, I think, at that time. And I mean, I think everything was looked at, and there were a lot of studies done at that point indicating that the curve was the problem, and there was no way to really correct that, and a four-way stop sign would not have been a good idea then, and I'm not sure how that would have changed. I do have a couple letters, Madam Chair, if I could read those in. Dear Councilor Frida, in regards to the above petition put before the City Council for consideration, I want to express my thoughts and observations about placing a stop sign at the intersection of Lindell and Abbott Avenue. I frequent Lindell Avenue regularly and observe this thoroughfare to be very active with vehicles. I also have observed Abbott Avenue regularly since I have lived within a mile radius of this location for many years. Abbott Avenue is much less active with vehicles. I would rely upon the experts in the city of Leominster and with any and all offices dealing with roads and transportation. However, my thought is that it would be in fact more dangerous to put a four-way stop at that intersection. The frequency of the cars on Lindell Ave and the far less frequency of cars on Abbott Ave would cause havoc on Lindell Avenue, which is the main road between Route 12 and Merriam Avenue. Foreseeably, cars would back up and cause disruption between the lights at Route 12 and the lights at Merriam Ave and Lindell Ave as well. There is a blinking stop sign on Abbott Avenue coming off of Route 2 that assists in traffic control. If there are any sideline issues that can be altered to improve visibility when entering onto Lindell Avenue from Abbott Avenue, such as walls, shrubbery, trees, etc., that should certainly be addressed. Again, I do not hold myself out to be an expert, only someone who uses these roads regularly, and wanted to express my hope that the petition would be denied. Respectfully, Kathleen Reynolds Daignault, 107 Highland Avenue. And I believe we got one as well from James Gaffney. I am writing regarding petition P26. I live at 55 St. Jean Avenue in Leominster. I am opposed to the proposed four-way stop signs at the intersection of Lindell Avenue and Abbott Avenue. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Device, there are many factors which must be addressed prior to the installation of four-way traffic control. For example, stop sign. The manual, 11th edition, updated July 3rd, 2025, stipulates that four-way stop sign control should be approved, installed, with the guidance of the following Chapter 2B, Section 2B12 through 2B17. The above sections pertain to engineering studies, crash experiences, for example, number of crashes, sight distance, 8-hour volume, and other factors. I respectfully ask that you consider the above guidance along with the recommendations of the DPW and the Leominster Police Department Traffic Division prior to making any decisions regarding P7-26. Thank you for your consideration, James Gaffney, BSET Professional Land Surveyor. So I just wanted to read those two in the record. I just remember us talking about this extensively, and I think everything was exhausted in 2013 as far as trying to
Right.
correct.
Right. No, 12 years ago, we thought, by now, maybe we could have come up with a solution. And I think that, we don't have one at the moment, but I think we need to keep thinking about this and figure out a way to make it more safe. So the conversation will continue, certainly. And I appreciate all the work again, and I really appreciate, the thought and time that you guys have, put into trying to bring this to everybody's attention. So if there's nobody else who wants to weigh in on this, I am going to declare the public hearing closed.
Okay. I guess we'll start your 6:25 hearing.
This is a public hearing before the Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Susan Shalafou-Zephyr. I'm the chair, along with Council Bob Tossi and Vice President Pauline Corman, who's not with us this evening. So this is a public hearing on C-11. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council submit a request pursuant to Article 2, Section 8, Paragraph 1, Clause 1 of the amendments of the Constitution as amended by Article 89, that State Senator John Cronin and State Representative Natalie Higgins file special legislation with the General Court on behalf of the city seeking to exempt the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant from the Civil Service Law, General Law, Chapter 31, as follows. An act exempting the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant in the city of Leominster from the Civil Service Law. Be it enacted by the State and House of Representatives and General Court assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1, the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant in the city of Leominster shall be exempt from Chapter 31 of General Laws. Section 2, this act shall take effect upon its passage. So this evening we have the chief and we have Captain Fred to tell us and the public what this is about.
So the last superior officers, their bargaining agreement, what they negotiated is to be removed from civil service. So that is the sergeants and also the lieutenants.
Chief, could you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
How about now? Now better?
Better, yeah. Thank you.
So the last CBA for the Superior Officers Union was negotiated through the city of Leominster with the city solicitor, signed by the mayor, signed by the president of the Superior Officers Union to be removed from civil service. There was guidelines which outlined promotional exams, prerequisites, layoffs, the discipline. It was completely hashed out with the unions. And this is something that we thought this petition was already submitted potentially. And so once we realized the petition was not submitted yet, we immediately notified the mayor, and he swiftly filed the petition as a means of housekeeping. So we just wanted to memorialize what was already in the contract, what was agreed upon, what was already signed, because it just was not done yet.
So
It's not new. It's nothing new.
Right. I did ask for a copy of the contract, and I received that.
Yes.
So the contract was signed in 2022
Yes.
and is up for renewal in June, right? It says July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024.
It's actually 1 year expired.
1 year expired?
And they haven't started to negotiate yet.
Okay,
The superiors have not,
okay,
which I anticipate should happen soon.
okay. So this has already been negotiated. It's the superior officers have signed off on this.
Signed, negotiated, agreed upon,
Okay,
and it was our understanding, I wasn't part of the previous administration,
right.
the understanding was there'd be one more civil service promotional exam, and then this petition will be filed. So there was one more civil service exam for sergeant, also for lieutenant. That was done, so that's why we're here for the petition as a matter of housekeeping, before we start negotiations for the next contract. That's all.
All right, okay. I understand that, and having read the contract, I understand that it's a done negotiation. It's already
Already agreed
been
upon.
ratified.
Already signed.
Already signed, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the council. I'll go to Councilor Tossi. Do you have any questions for the chief about this?
Yeah, is this common throughout the state to have these stipulations in contracts?
There is a trend, depending on the city and town, to decide to be removed from the civil service. It's city or town specific. And obviously, the unions would have to agree to it, and the city would as well, and that's what we did here in Leominster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know one issue that was raised, or one concern that was raised with me, was that there's a veteran's preference, I think, according to the city civil service law and process. And is that removed in this contract?
You still have it for the hiring process for initial applicant,
Okay,
and from then, I believe the union negotiated not to have it for the future exams.
okay.
Not for the sergeant's test, not for the lieutenant's test. That's
Okay.
what they agreed upon.
That was what the
I
union
believe it's
agreed.
not in there,
Okay,
but they agreed to it.
all right.
I
And-
was not part of that,
Right, no, this was the prior administration. I
Yes.
know you're sitting here,
Yep.
unfortunately,
but the
trying to answer
unions did agree
questions.
to it, so.
I'm sorry?
But the unions did agree to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The existing superior officers were part of that negotiation, right?
Not the majority, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay,
They have a different president, vice president now, but the ones that negotiated it are still here.
okay,
The members had to vote on it, and they ratified the contract. Yeah.
okay. So in the future, so when they negotiate their next contract, they could decide to go back into civil
They
service?
could not. Well,
They-
that's a question for KPLI, I suppose, not for me.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. All right, I'm going to go to the council. Does anybody have any questions? Counselor, Mr. President?
Thank you, Councilor Shalfo. Chief, just for the public edification,
Yep.
what's the motivation to leave the civil service system?
Like I said, since this was done before me, you would really have to, I wouldn't be the person to ask for that question.
Yeah,
It does make the promotional exams easier, and when I say it's easier, that means for the sergeants and the lieutenants test, if you ask the state for an assessment center per se, and that's the all-day interview process with, there's interviews, there's an in-basket, there's exercises that you run the superior officers through to see how they will do for that rank per se. Well,
it's
that
a
is-
broader spectrum, right? I mean,
It's a long day.
but
I've
these
had many,
assessments,
unfortunately, yeah.
these assessments seem to be in vogue because I guess the advantage is they sort of examine a broad range of things that
Of course.
that officer will need to be able to do in that function.
Yeah, the city and town does have some of the input. However, now, since you're out of civil service, we will be able to design these tests that are more specific to the needs of Leominster that we deal with throughout the community, rather than something that's just statewide that's broad,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, yeah.
We'll
Thank
have
you.
more input per se,
Yeah,
and we also have input for prerequisites. For example, you have to be on the job for 7 years before you can take the sergeant's exam, for example. So there's everything that they decided to agree upon that makes it, you need to have slightly more experience to be a supervisor now compared to someone who just has a year on the job that could take the civil service exam to be a sergeant.
yeah, I mean, I think.
You
I
have
think-
more experienced people then as supervisors, which I think is beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally the idea of having a test be more responsive to somebody succeeding in a
Exactly.
career is where
When
we
they're
want to
ready.
go.
Yeah.
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 Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Frida?
It's been no secret that I'm the biggest opponent of taking anything out of civil service, going back to when we took the chief out. That was a long process, but in order to get you the captains at that time, I went along with it. And I was really concerned about this until we spoke. My concern pretty much was that the current lieutenants and sergeants would be protected.
You are still in
And-
civil service at the rank that you are at right now. But once you have the next rank, you are out
Right.
of civil service.
All right, so I'm still not a fan of taking those positions out, but I can understand why it has to be done. And as long as they're protected, I'm comfortable. I mean, everybody coming in next will know when they take the test that they're going to be out of the civil service protection, so.
There's no surprises now.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was agreed upon. So, which
Okay,
is good.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Any other councils have any questions about this? And I will go to the public. Is there anybody who'd like to weigh in on this communication from the mayor, C11, for a second time? Is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment on or weigh in on this petition for a third and final time? If there's anyone who would like to weigh in on this, okay.
It's 7 o'clock.
It is 7 o'clock. Just, okay.
You all set?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut
that's
you
okay.
off.
There's one, I'm looking at the clock. It looks like we have 1 minute.
I'm
So I
going
guess,
by Apple.
okay, my recommendation, based on what, the chief has explained, I mean, my recommendation would be to close the public hearing.
Fine.
And
That may be done, all right, and it's
okay.
perfect timing. So if you join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll take a roll call of the councilors present, starting with Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Present.
Councilor Tossi.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
present.
Councilor Robbins.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
I shall be recorded as present. We have 8 city councilors in attendance this evening. The chairwoman of records is not here this evening. We have several sets of minutes to approve. I don't know if anybody has any objection to any of these minutes or wants to hold off on them.
I actually provided lots of edits to the city clerk, and she turned those around, so I haven't gone back through the edited versions, but I'm assuming that the edits were made. So I'm all set.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe a motion from somebody to approve the minutes? Councilor? We have a second?
Yep.
All in favor? Okay, great.
Have a motion for recess?
Thank you, Councilor. Second? All in favor? All right, we're in recess, and Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you can go to 9:26.
Absolutely. So this is a public hearing for the Legal Affairs Committee on petition 9-26. Susan Shalfo Zephyr, Brandon Robbins, Councilors at Large, Ward 1 Councilor Robert M. Tossi, and 10 registered voters. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to MU2 zoning. So this has been given regular course. It's been on our agenda during our last meeting. We continued the public hearing tonight, and we will be continuing it again. We are waiting for the planning board to have their public hearing, and that is scheduled for October 20th at 6:35 p.m. However, during this evening's public hearing, if there's anybody in the audience or the public who would like to comment on 926, we'd be happy to entertain comments this evening. Yep. Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Brady, 214 Harvard Street. When I sat in this position, we had voted on the road extension for the state grant. One of the things I did ask the developer that the the buffer zones should be well-defined, and I was assured, I said, and you can go back to the tapes, I said, this is in my backyard. And I was assured that we would have plenty of buffer. What this petition did, basically, was take every protection that we had in zoning and gave it to the developer. From density, the mixed use was third, that's gone. It can still happen, development can still happen, but we would have a review, abutters would be notified. I'm sure it was unintended consequence of passing that. None of the abutters were notified. And to see the project that big and not feel like we had a voice in it is really disheartening. Thank you.
For a second time, is there anybody in the audience in the public who'd like to comment on petition 9-26?
So this is just about the apartment complex in general. You know, the police officers just said that the amount of, sorry, I have some notes too. They just said that traffic complaints.
Sorry, ma'am. Could you just please give us your name and
Chelsea
address?
Madison, 65 Harvard Street.
Thank you.
So the police officers just said that traffic complaints have gone up throughout the area, but the police have not been able to expand their force. So you're now adding a lot of extra traffic with this apartment complex because the zoning has been changed. And I don't think the city can handle the extent of what this apartment complex is going to do. Harvard Street's already a dangerous road, and we don't have any sidewalks. And you guys just redid Prospect Park, and so we, as the residents, want to be able to walk down that street and enjoy it. But we can't do that because when we do, we end up taking our life into our own hands being on Harvard Street. You have so many cars flying down the road. I have a 14-month-old and a dog, and the amount of anxiety that I get on a daily basis trying to go for a simple walk because cars don't consider the pedestrians. We also have a school bus that stops right in the middle of our road, right next to my house. How is that going to be? I know they have stop signs, but how is that going to be handled when you have such an influx of cars coming up and down this road? The residents are great when it comes to slowing down and being careful of everybody else, but this apartment complex doesn't feel like it's going to be part of the community. A lot of people speed to get to Target and cut through this road, and I really want this to be looked at from a safety perspective. That's all it is. You're going to risk accidents, you're going to risk pedestrians dying on this road because people are just going to speed through and speed through. So I know you're not answering questions, but those are my concerns as a resident of Harvard Street.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else for a third and final time in the public who would like to speak on petition 926?
Hello. Haley Brady, 200 Harvard Street. I wrote it down so I couldn't forget. Good evening. I appreciate the council once again allowing me to speak on this topic pertaining to the recent changes of the MU2 zoning. Most of us are here tonight because the rules of the MU2 district were rewritten, not for us, but against us. Quietly, the city did away with special permits, public comment, and meaningful oversight. This single change has already paved the way for the 308-unit project at Orchard Hills. If nothing is done, it won't be the last. This means more traffic, overcrowded schools, a strain on police and fire, and wetlands stripped of the protections that keep our drinking water clean and our neighborhoods safe from flooding. This reversal is not about anti-housing. It's about allowing the community to have a say in how we grow. Smart growth is transparent, it's measured, it respects both neighborhoods and natural resources. The changes in MU2 did none of those things. Reversing these changes won't stop development. It just simply restores accountability. I want to see decisions brought back into the open where residents and boards can weigh in, where protections matter, and where growth reflects the needs of the community, not the bottom line of some national developer. We only needed 10 signatures to bring this forward. We got 112 in 2 days. That should say something. The community is paying attention. We love this city. We want it to thrive. But we cannot be expected to sit back and watch our community become a dumping ground for unchecked development. The timeline of this rezoning made it seem like it was necessary for state compliance. It was not. Things get overlooked, mistakes happen, things move forward. But as our representatives, I'm just respectfully asking you to redo this, restore community and city oversight, and give us a say in our community and our future.
Jerry Millett, 58 Sky Lane. Mr. Lazardi entered in a letter January 13th, 2025, And I'll quote some of the things that he put in this letter. Through various affiliate entities, I have developed, owned, and controlled substantially all the MU2 zoning district. All. And you guys gave this man a seat at the table to do what he did. And the fact that he owns it all and is benefiting from it is ridiculous. In addition, the proposal, quote, in addition, the proposed zoning change is necessary to address various internal drafting conflicts within the existing zoning ordinance and will provide clarity moving forward for future development for these reasons stated above. It's all about getting what he needed done for this particular parcel. It's spot zoning. That's all it was. What you created was spot zoning. You didn't do anything to benefit Ward 1. And what you could have done, as far as the people in Ward 1, I get a call when the snow is about to fall about parking on the street. I get a reverse call saying, don't park on the street because you'll be fined and you'll be towed. You're telling me that you couldn't reverse call everybody in Ward 1 for a meeting up at Skyview Middle School to sit there and hash this out publicly and let us know? This was designed for us not to know what was going on until the last minute. We only knew about this because of an accident or an excuse of a backhoe being in the wrong spot. That triggered this whole thing, and now we're playing catch up to something that's underway. And as far as this MU2 not being reversed, anything that's MU1, 2, 3, or 4 is subject to this because this sets the tone for everything else. What is done here for one guy means that anybody in MU1 can come back and say, what you did for him, spot zoning, you got to do for me. Because how can you not? Because otherwise it's favoritism. This is ridiculous. The man gets a grant for a road for commercial use, and then when it's completed, it's completely flipped around and turned residential. But it was all put in under commercial. Now, I've been chasing down the paperwork, but it seems like City Hall is a black hole when it comes to getting paperwork. No one knows where the paperwork is. No one is taking accountability for anything. I'm chasing down the state. They're coming through with paperwork. But as far as City Hall, as-built plans, the planning department, you name it, that road was built, and I can't even get someone who signed off on inspections. I can't even get an as-built plan. I can't even get who inspected what, because none of that paperwork exists. I do know Amarillo Construction was paid for the work, and there's communications back and forth. You know how I know that? Because of the state. But the city is acting like it doesn't exist. There's something really rotten going on here, especially with this MU2 business. And so, is it spot zoning? Absolutely, absolutely. And as far as I'm concerned, that $2 million that went for a commercial road, which is now being used for residential, that's taxpayer money. He's profiting personally from a state grant. And because of that, you can't profit personally from a state grant, which he has. Now, somebody needs to look into him paying back or clawing back that $2 million of taxpayer money. And I'm looking into that and making sure something of that nature happens. Because there is no way you can file an application and do everything you did and create it as commercial, and then once it's completed, and even have the planning, Elizabeth Wood, who was all on board with the commercial, but once the road was completed, she basically said commercial was dead, and we need to look at housing. And then the road flips back to being residential. Now, something's wrong with that. Something's completely wrong with that, because she didn't have a problem with it being commercial before the completion when the money was being allocated. But after it was completed, somebody got to her, or somehow she flipped, and now it's residential.
Just for clarity's sake, the MU2 zone included housing when it was created. It was always about housing. That MU2 zone was created, I think, about 18 years ago. But
It wasn't created in the manner that you're talking.
But it was required. But it was always envisioned that there would be housing in the MU2 zone.
You took away our rights. You took away what was supposed to be.
Sir, all I'm talking about is one very limited issue. You raised a lot of issues, okay, and they're all going to be flushed out, all right? But one issue I just wanted to, for clarity's sake, the MU2 zone was created a long time ago, not in January, years ago, decades ago. And it always envisioned some housing development there.
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I was trying to accomplish.
What I'm saying is, what got flushed out and changed was you took away the special permits, you took away the restrictions, and you took away the fact that we should have been notified of what was going on. That was all taken away. You let the developers lead the charge and do what they did. That made life easier for them. And now you got a guy who's going to pocket millions of dollars off the sale of this. He's not holding it. He's just getting it permitted and entitled and pushing it off on somebody else for multi-millions of dollars. And so somebody else is building this. It's not him. It's somebody else that he is selling this off to. He just needs to get it permitted and entitled and passed on. And you're allowing it, and every time we dig deeper into this, it seems like everybody's either dragging their feet, or no one's accountable, or everybody is looking the other way. But at some point, somebody has to stand up and do what's right.
Hello, Liz Macarella, 75 Harvard Street. I first just want to say that I agree with everything that's so far been stated by my fellow residents tonight. And I want to state clearly that, I'm in support of this petition to amend the zoning standard for MU2 to go back to the way it was before this amendment change. The amendment change, all it does is undermine local oversight and community input in these development projects. It really does absolutely nothing for any of our current city residents. And that's twofold. One, it takes away our voice, takes away our ability to be notified when something is happening. But then doubly, when it goes through, it takes away resources from a city that is already stretched, from our schools and our roads and our police and our safety. So what is in it for us? Why on earth would we give up the special permit process and all of the review and the oversight that goes along with it? Professionally, I'm an architect. I am not, opposed to development. This is part of what I do. But I also know from that how it can be done right working within the fabric of an existing community. You don't just come in and let a national developer walk all over a city, change its rules, and ignore the existing fabric and the people that already live there. And that is what they're doing. We know that there is a housing need. I would love to personally welcome new people to our community in a thoughtful way that can benefit everyone. As part of this development, for instance, there's a proposed new clubhouse and pool complex. This is right around the corner from an existing established community business that does the same thing. So they're not only maximizing the square footage and the number of people they can put on this currently beloved forested wetland green space, they are also setting it up to turn its back on the existing community and not try to interact with us. When we talked about traffic and the difficulty there, they said, we'll make sure that it's a left turn only out of the new road we're going to put through onto Harvard Street so that we'll just stay away from the rest of the community. That's problematic on many levels.
not least of which whether it would even be enforced or would happen that way. But it also just says we don't care about you. We're only in it for this location right next to Target and Route 2. And we don't care about Leominster except for what money you can bring us. But they're gonna cost us a lot of money. And our resources, you know, the stress level of the people in this room collectively is through the roof. Many of us are losing a lot of sleep over this, and it didn't have to be like this. You know, there's just no good reason to give up the oversight of the special permit process and allow people a voice in what is happening in their communities. Only good things happen then. You know, we could have talked about a right-sized development for that area that maybe created a community park space, maybe with connecting sidewalks that went from there down to the new Prospect Park, you know, improved area. Something we could have been proud of, something that really made a lot of sense. But we didn't do that because we didn't have that drawn-out review process with community input. We just said, nope, we don't need that. And we're not going to get it again unless we change this amendment back to the way it was. Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else in the audience in the public who would like to speak on petition 9-26? For a second time, I'll ask if there's anybody who'd like to comment this evening. And for a third and final time, would you like to comment this evening? We will keep the public hearing open. We are waiting for the planning board's recommendation to come back to us. They're meeting again on October 20th. So we will be discussing and probably voting on this petition after we get the information back from the planning board. So everybody will have another opportunity to weigh in on this particular petition. But thank you. All right, and with that, Council Frida, certainly.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to be sure that you lined up Joe Boyle, Elizabeth, and Mr. Souza to be down here.
I sure did, and I told them not to come this evening because we were waiting for the planning board recommendation. So they will be there at the next meeting when we have all of our information in hand. Yep.
I would like to have asked them questions tonight because I think there's a lot of things after that planning board meeting that have to be clarified with the housing committee.
Absolutely, and we will all get to ask questions at the next meeting. Yeah, I'll make sure that everybody's questions are satisfied, that everybody has enough information and feels comfortable with, you know, the information. But, you know, feel free in the interim. The city clerk can certainly contact Mr. Boyle or Mr. Souza or KP Law. You know, anybody that you want to reach out to, you can certainly do that.
I understand. I can talk to them myself, but I want them to be sitting here so I can ask the questions because I sat on that housing committee.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they will be here, you know, for our next meeting. And we can all ask questions, and certainly, you know, the public can as well during the public hearing. Anybody else, any other councils have any questions? Okay. Well, at this point, I would request that we keep the public hearing open.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor. And we have one more public hearing.
We do. So this is petition 3-26, Glenn Eaton, Executive Director, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, request to amend the zoning ordinance to replace Article 15, accessory apartments, with a new Article 15 that complies with recently passed state law and make other changes to implement the new ordinance. We had a public hearing with Mr. Boyle from MRPC, who talked about the changes to zoning for the new state law to comply with the new state law about accessory dwelling units, ADUs. We kept the public hearing open because we asked Mr. Boyle to come back with some different language, and also this was referred to the planning board, so the planning board will have their crack at it also on October 20th, so at this point I'd leave the public hearing open.
Okay.
But I will go to the public. I'll go certainly. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak on petition 3-26 about accessory apartments, accessory dwelling units? For the second time, is there anybody who'd like to speak on petition 3-26? And for a third and final time, I will ask if anybody wants to weigh in. Is there anybody on the council who has any questions about 3-26? If not, my recommendation would be to keep this public hearing open.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
Yep.
We're going to conduct the public forum now.
Yep.
The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. I have 2 lists, and this doesn't look like your form. I don't know where this came from.
I think it looks like they were using it to sign in for being here.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the public forum sign-up sheet, and the first people signed up were Clarice and Dan Umel, who I think have left, right?
They have, yep.
Carol Elaine. It's very possible most of these people are here for 9-26. Jess Wozniak, I think, if I'm reading that correctly. Ashley Silva. Haley Brady, okay. Actually, there was another Haley, too, spelled differently. Bish. Okay. Jerry Mollett.
He spoke.
Liz Macarilla, who also spoke, I believe. All right, so is there any member of the public present that, not on the list, that wishes to address the city council on an agenda item this evening? And for a second time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council in the public forum on an agenda item this evening? And a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the city council on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, I will declare the public forum closed, and we'll go into communications from the mayor.
C-17, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $5,000 be made to the Police Department Equipment Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding the installation of new security cameras to replace the current outdated cameras located downtown.
C-17 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
First time on the calendar, Mr. President, regular course.
Very well, C-17 has been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda.
Susan Shalfo Zephyr, Counselor at Large, requests place no parking signs across the street from 59-63 Manchester Street apartment building.
17-25 is referred to the Chairwoman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you very much. I would give this regular course with referrals to the DPW and the Traffic Department of the Leominster Police Department.
Very well.
And we'll schedule a public hearing, too.
Yeah, do you have a suggested date and time?
14th, 14th.
Okay, so you got...
On the 14th.
We're going to suggest October 14th. Those are the ones we have already scheduled.
Right.
Okay, so let's go with, let's go with, I don't know what these are. 15-26 is what? Let's go with 6:20.
The sign sheet.
Is that okay, Counselor?
That works.
All right. All those in favor of giving 17-25 assigning a public hearing for October 14th at 6:20 p.m., please recognize your usual manner. All right, that may be done. All right, moving on to 18-25.
Claire M. Frieda, Counselor at Large, requests a street light on pole number 29 in front of 199 North Main Street.
18-25 is referred to the Chairwoman of Public Safety.
Thank you very much. I would give this regular course with a referral to the DPW.
All right, and let's try to do this on October 14th at 6:25. All those in favor of establishing that hearing date, please recognize your usual manner. Do you have a phone on?
Must be, right? Somebody's phone? Oh, it was a bag. Is that someone's bag?
Is there a phone
There's a bag
on
on the floor.
Somebody's calling on their phone.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Uh-oh.
All right, moving on to matters before the City Council, starting with the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year on July 1, 2025. The opioid stabilization fund began with a balance of $577,545.87. Pending the communications that are on there for the first time tonight, if approved, we will have spent $163,144.11, leaving us with a balance of $414,401.76. The capital stabilization fund began with a balance of $4,593,191.62. We have spent to date $2,261,190, and that leaves us with a balance of $2,332,001.62. And the regular stabilization fund began with a balance of $24,130,697.77. We've earned interest in the amount of $87,140.86, pending all the items that we've already approved and the one item that is yet to be. We will have spent $1,502,000, which will leave us with a balance of $22,715,838.63, and that is the financial report.
Any questions?
I have a quick one. Through the chair to the finance chair. Can you check with the comptroller, just make sure that free cash certification is kind of on the regular schedule? Because we would know that in October, I think, right?
Yeah, I think
As opposed to the old regular schedule?
I'm sorry?
As opposed to the old regular schedule?
Absolutely, as opposed to the old schedule, right. Yeah, the current schedule, the new and improved.
I will find out and make sure that everything's
Thank you.
All right.
on schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councilors.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to finance. Is the chairman ready to report on C12?
Yes, Mr. President. C-12, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $40,000 be made to the Ripple Effect Peer Recovery and Support Center out of the Mayor's capital expense line in the general fund. Same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. There is a letter here explaining that they're submitting this on behalf of the Ripple Effect Peer Recovery Support Center, a Leominster recovery resource and subsidiary of Gamma Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization. Ripple Effect Peer Recovery Supports Center mission is to breaking down barriers to recovery by nurturing a safe and inclusive environment where individuals can access vital resources and thrive. Ripple Effect PRSC is requesting a $35,000 from the Opioid Recovery and Remediation Fund for the purpose of creating discretionary fund for individuals in recovery to access safe housing. With this funding, we would be able to provide financial support to individuals seeking placement in sober houses that are not eligible for other sources of funding, such as RAFT or Sheriff's Department funding. We would also be able to help individuals put money toward rent or security deposit for an apartment. Housing is a basic need that helps individuals to find safety and stability in their recovery, allowing for positive contribution to the community and society, as well as building on their own personal recovery capital. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Heidi Surratt, Narcisse, which is the recovery coach, and Jim Schofield, Assistant Program Director of Ripple Effect Peer Recovery and Support Center. So all of this money is intended for these purposes. We have this fund, and it would be my recommendation that we grant C-12, and I'll ask that you check with the other member of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-12. Now, the agenda says $40,000. Is that a mistake?
Oh, yeah.
You read 35.
Yeah, that's what they put in here. That's what they requested, but the mayor is giving them 40.
Okay.
Yeah, because, oh, sorry, there is a letter on the other side for another 5,000,
All right.
which I can read if you'd like.
No?
Okay. So it is total.
Unless anybody else wants to read. Hopefully, we've all read it. All right, so you've heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-12. Is there any further discussion? No. Seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize your usual manner. Anyone opposed? C-12 is granted by a vote of 8-0. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $40,000 be made to the Ripple Effect Peer Recovery and Support Center out of the mayor's capital expense line in the general fund. Same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anybody opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to C-13.
C-13D.
Chairman?
Yes.
I will be abstaining from this. I'm a member of the board.
Okay, very well, Counselor.
Okay.
I'll note your abstention.
C-13, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor requests that an appropriation be made to the Catholic Charities out of the mayor's capital expense line in the general fund, the same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. This is regarding the amount requested to provide initial support with the opportunity to reassess future needs. I know that the amount, it looks like the got omitted from this agenda, but the amount is $40,000. And we do have a long letter here. I don't know if anybody wants me to read this all into the record, but one thing that you will notice is that there is a wish list which totals $80,751. So here, someone might ask, about the remaining balance, and what I have been told is that this program is starting out with $40,000, and they will assess the needs, and this probably won't be the last time that we will be getting a communication for additional funds to Catholic Charities from the opioid stabilization. It would be my recommendation, if somebody wants me to summarize what their wish list is it's a Leominster Women's Program. It's a 20-bed co-occurring enhanced treatment center for women. They provide treatment for women with co-occurring mental health and substance disorders, with the primary treatment of being focused on mental health. So there's a whole breakdown here of many things that they've requested, and the city is going to start providing them with funding, and it'd be my recommendation that we grant C-13, and I ask that you check with the other member of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-13. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-13, please recognize in the usual manner. C-13 has been granted by a vote of 7-0. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $40,000 be made to the Catholic Charities out of the mayor's capital expense line in the general fund, same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 7-0, the order has been adopted. And we move on to C-14. Is the chairman ready to report?
C-14, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor requests an appropriation of $1,221.05 be made to the Permaline Corp. of New England out of the mayor's capital expense line in the general fund. Same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. Basically what this is you've probably seen them around town. And the mayor is explaining that he's requesting this. The signs have already been placed throughout the community, and these signs fall directly within the guidelines of the opioid settlement regulations, which allow for funding of public awareness and prevention initiatives. So those signs have been placed around town, and it does indicate where you can call for 988. There is hope for a suicide and crisis lifeline. So I know some people might ask why we've already spent the money and now we're asking for it. Basically, that the mayor has an expense line in his budget which he can spend on such things. And one way or another, he was putting the signs up, I guess, so he had it done. And we have the ability to use opioid stabilization money to do so. So he's just basically asking at this point that we just do some housekeeping if we wish and take the money out of where we are allowed to take it out of. It'd be my recommendation that we grant C-14, and I'll ask that you check with members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-14. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-14, please recognize in the usual manner. C-14 has been granted by a vote of 8-0. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $1,221.05 be made to the Permaline Corp. of New England out of the mayor's capital expense line in the general fund, the same amount to be transferred from the opioid stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yea.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to C-15.
C-15, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $350,000 be made to the Building Capital Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. What this is for is, I can read the letter into the record. Dear honorable members of the Leominster City Council, we have requested an additional appropriation to fully fund the anticipated parking garage repairs slated for this fall. At this time, the bidding for said repairs has been completed as of last Monday, and this letter is dated September 4th, so, but a contract cannot be entered into until full funding is in place, hence this request. Last fiscal year, the purchasing agent contacted a masonry repair contractor to inspect the parking garage to obtain an estimated price to perform needed maintenance. The plan being to include the cost of repairs needed in the FY26 budget, which was done. Since the original estimate was received, it has been found that the contractor did not price out all of the needed repairs, only major items, leaving us with an inaccurate estimated cost. This necessitates the request for additional funding. Repairs needed are due to wear and tear resulting mostly from the elements. It has been 13 years since repairs were last made to the parking garage. Since that time, many of those repairs continue to hold, but due to age and elements, new areas of repair have arisen which must be addressed to ensure the continued structural integrity of the garage. We respectfully request that the City Council look favorably on this request and grant it. If you have any questions, please reach out, Jen Reddington and Greg Chapdelaine. So I know that Councilor Robbins had reached out and asked me a couple of questions regarding the timing of this. First of all, yes, the garage is going to be completely shut down. They don't want anybody parking even below, even though most of the repairs are to the ramp and above, because they don't want liability of somebody claiming something fell on their cars underneath. As soon as this money is approved, the work is going to start very soon. They want it to be done by the end of November. Is the goal, because people park in there for the winter and they understand the stress it would put on parking. So this is not going to be a long drawn out project. It's going to be the end of November at the very latest. As far as it coinciding with the closure of the parking lot down near Manning Avenue, they're still waiting for some things to come back. I think something to do with the piping underground. So they're not expecting an overlap, but if there is one, it will be very, very minimal. So that's all I've been told by the comptroller. But as far as C-15, the sooner we put this money in place, the sooner they can get going and get that garage underway. So it would be my recommendation that we grant C-15, and I ask that you check with other members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-15. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Robbins.
Just one follow-up to the chair, to the Finance Chair. If there is overlap, is there an additional solution for people to park, seeing that was the solution to the closed Manusnak Brook parking lot?
I have not been presented with any specific, plan, in terms of this, but, from what I understand, they're looking into the possibilities of having a shuttle if need be, and things of that nature, through downtown. So, that certainly will help. I think the situation is very fluid. I think the mayor's office understands the strain that it's going to put potentially on downtown, but we have to improve our infrastructure. We just can't let it crumble either. And I know that, the timing of both is not the best, right? Close to simultaneous, but I think they're doing everything they can to make it not so simultaneous. So.
Okay, anybody else? Councilor Noseworthy?
Thank you. Through the chair to the chair, it would be interesting to see, how long this repair is expected to last, sort of thinking about the capital improvement and the issue with parking in the city. So I would just be curious to see, after these repairs, how long they think, that we'll be in good shape before repairs are needed again.
Right, because I think it was 13 years ago, through the chair, we spent money on this garage.
Okay.
And we're already doing it again. So,
right.
yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit more. I will find out to see what their anticipation is, to see long-term how the garage is going to hold up, because, I am surprised we have to do this again, because we just did it about 12 or 13 years ago, so.
Thank you.
Councilor Frida?
Do we have any idea how long we've known this needed to be done?
That I don't know. I have no idea how long they've known or when this all started as far as the garage is concerned. That I don't know.
I think it's pretty serious if there's an overlap, because with the garage, it's a serious problem with the Monadnock Brook project.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, I've gotten calls from a couple of the restaurants who have asked us, tried to find a way to get a petition on the council for us to be able to talk about having no more activities downtown because it's affecting the parking. And I said, it's really not our jurisdiction, but I'd like to find a way that we can put something on you because they want to talk to us about it. This is serious to have a possibility of overlapping.
Yeah.
Can we, I think we should we need to get a better answer. There's got to be somebody that knows when they're going to put it out for bid, how long it's going to take to get the bid in. I mean, the parking garage, the Monadnock Brook was supposed to start in September. It's just a delay on some of the materials.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a real problem if we're voting to do both here.
Well, through the chair, like I said, I think they understand that, and they're going to do everything they can to keep if it does overlap, to keep it to a minimum, maybe a week or two till they finish up. And I think that they're looking into shuttling. I know we have the parking. I mean, we spent all kinds of money on the parking lot behind the post office. We got the parking lot, off of Miriam Ave over there. I mean, this parking, it's maybe not the most convenient parking, especially if it's starting to get slippery or, you're handicapped and you need to be closer. But, from what I've been told, they've got some solutions to move people around downtown to get through this headache that we have.
All we have to do is have Rollstone Bank say no more parking in there, and then we've got a really serious situation. And it's not fair to the businesses downtown if we don't have an answer for them. Well, I mean, we should know better on when they're going to do this.
Well, that wouldn't hurt, but logically, if we can't put off these repairs until after the Monadnock Brook project is complete, which I would assume we can't, then delaying on this vote would only make things more egregious.
Is this going to solve that problem? Because we put a lot of money in that parking garage. Is this going to solve it?
We could debate that all night. I go back and debate when they built the garage. I don't think they should have built it in the first place, but I wanted to
That's been a real.
Years ago,
we put a lot of money. How much money have we put into it? I don't expect you to know off the top of your head, but we should probably look at that. We spent a lot of money on putting into that garage.
Over $2 million at this point.
It's a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's what it cost.
Yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm against taking care of our infrastructure, because we obviously need to do that. But I also think the reason I asked the questions I did of the chair and the follow-up question is because of the concerns that I've heard from the businesses down there. Everyone knows I work down there, and it's already a challenge to park. So closing that garage when it's supposed to be the solution is less than desirable, I would say. But I also worry if we don't pass this, we're just making more problems. So once again, I feel like we're stuck in a rock and a hard place situation if this needs to get done now. And I just wish we had known sooner.
Okay. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you very much. There was a big meeting, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe. All of the department heads were there, the Mass DOT or whoever is, building the Moose-Knockbrook project. And the businesses were loud and clear about their concerns about parking. I mean, there's no question about it. So through the chair to the finance chair, you might want to ask for an update from the mayor, because I think that the businesses were expecting an update on more detail on any kind of shuttle service that was going to be provided, where the satellite parking lots were actually. I mean, there was talk about satellite parking lots, but I don't recall anything really definitive. So that would be helpful in context of all this money that we're spending to improve the infrastructure stuff we have to do. We can't let the garage go any longer. I mean, that's crazy. That's a liability. So, but, for the public's information, and also I think for the businesses downtown, because they've got a real problem. The restaurants are really very, very worried about this, and I understand that completely. So if you could get some more information, if the mayor has any update, if he came down with maps and did a little dog and pony show about this is how it's going to work, maybe that would make people feel better.
Well, theoretically, we can pass this tonight, and we can bring it up on old business for a report.
Yeah, and through the chair, I did ask the mayor's office as well if he could convey that, to us and the public, what their latest plan is, and so he loves to come down and do a show, so I'm sure he'll.
Well, I'm sure he can come up with a nice map, that shows everybody where the plan, what the plan is.
And one of the other things that concerns me is as far as what's the severity of the garage. If we don't pass this now, and there's some safety concerns, and then they have to shut the garage down, and they don't want people using it, and then it's shut down indefinitely until we pass the money and fix it. That's not going to help me, because instead of a couple of months, it could be shut down for 4 or 5 months. So I don't want to do that either. That's not a good thing. So.
All right, Councilor Frida. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Hyder.
Just curious, the parking lot off of Manning Avenue down behind the post office, how many people, it's not well marked, I mean, does it get used at all?
I don't know if there's a lot of use, but we bought it. I know there was controversy when we bought it.
He remembers that one.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
I think I voted against it, but yeah, anyway.
I just, I was worried about parking downtown. It would be nice to let people know that there is some parking downtown and not far away from the garage.
Right. There's probably, through the chair, when you really stop and break it all down, there's probably more parking downtown than people realize. There's a lot of little spots behind, like I said, behind the post office. It's public parking behind Walgreens over there. That's all public. And I'm trying to think of where there's others.
Grove and Merriam, West Street.
City Hall parking lot is wide open at night, usually on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and the lot across from City Hall's parking lot, that's a little public lot. I mean, it's not right on top of these restaurants, but it's a short walk. It's a reasonable walk, especially if you're able-bodied. If not, that becomes another problem. I think once someone told me there's well over 1,000 parking spaces in downtown Leominster, believe it or not. So I know it's still not gonna be easy, but we're gonna have to, muscle through it. So.
Councilor Frida?
Not that I expect you to have this answer either. But how was this determined that it's in a serious situation right now? Was this a normal, regular maintenance check? I mean, all of a sudden, this is I have to do immediately kind of situation. How do we get into these spots?
Yeah, I through the chair, I don't know, but I know that there's been some issues with, I think, the drainage and things of that nature, so they don't want to go another winter without things working properly. Yeah, so.
I think what happens is concrete spalls, and it just flakes off and breaks, and then once the water gets in there and freezes,
I get it, but, if they're regularly, we've had such a problem with that parking garage, I would think there's be some maintenance checks and find out that we need to do something, not when it starts crumbling, and then we say, hey, we better fix it. This is insane, that the timing is just, there's gonna be no win here. And we might have a lot of parking spaces all around town, but I can tell you, there are no women that are gonna walk to the parking spots behind the post office at night after having dinner in Brady's or Benito's. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. So, I mean, we can, I don't know.
All right, anything else? I think we have a motion before us. All those in favor, please recognize usual manner. The C-15 has been granted by a vote of 8-0. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $350,000 be made to the Building Capital Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
We've heard the request to adopt the order. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yea.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to legal affairs and 3-26. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am. 3-26, Glenn Eaton, Executive Director, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. Request to amend the zoning ordinance to replace Article 15, accessory apartments, with a new Article 15 that complies with recently passed state law and make other changes to implement the new ordinance. We had a public hearing earlier this evening on this, and I do have a letter from the planning board. I'll just read a small piece of it. This is dated September 18th. On 9/15, the vote by the planning board to continue this public hearing was 601, to continue to October 6th, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. And the reason for the continuance was to ask the petitioner to provide a red line version of the proposed changes, which makes a lot of sense. So my recommendation at this point would be for further time.
Okay, we're going to have to continue the public hearing as well. This is one where the planning board is meeting on the 20th?
No, they're meeting on this one on the 6th, I think.
On the 6th?
Yep,
Okay.
this is what this says, the 6th, yep.
All right. So would you like to try to do this on the 14th?
Absolutely. I mean, why
Okay.
not? Yep.
All right. And we're pretty busy that night, but I'm going to suggest 6:50.
Okay.
We'll never keep up with that schedule, but, all right, we'll try. So I'll check with members of your committee. Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
All right, so the recommendation is to continue I'll give it further time, continue the public hearing to October 14th at 6:50 PM.
Correct.
All those in favor, please recognize usual manner. All right, that may be done. Moving on to C11.
C11, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request the City Council submit a request pursuant to Article 2, Section 8, Paragraph 1. Clause 1 of the amendments of the Constitution is amended by Article 89, that State Senator John Cronin and State Representative Natalie Higgins file special legislation with the General Court on behalf of the city, seeking to exempt the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant from the Civil Service Law, GL Chapter 31, as follows. An act exempting the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant in the city of Leominster from the Civil Service Law, be it enacted by the State and House of Representatives and General Court assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1, the positions of police lieutenant and police sergeant in the city of Leominster shall be exempt from Chapter 31 of General Laws. And Section 2, this act shall take effect upon its passage. We had a public hearing earlier this evening. We heard from the police Chief Malatos and Captain Frere. This is something that the Superior Officers Police Union has already approved. They negotiated in their contract that is currently in force. And so my recommendation after hearing from the police chief, and he had answered some of my questions previously, so my recommendation after the public hearing tonight would be to grant C11, and I would ask that you poll my committee.
Sure. Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
All right. So we've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C11. Is there any discussion? Councilor Robbins?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I want to share kind of similarly to the at-large counselor to my left did in the public hearing about concerns just generally about walking away from civil service. You know, I understand that once again we're kind of in a rock and a hard place situation where it's already been negotiated into a contract. I think it's disappointing to see the veterans' preference go away. and additionally have concerns around just if someone does feel like they are discriminated against in our process, that now that lawsuit is going to be on the back of the city, where previously it would have been on the back of the civil service exam. The Civil Service Commission has made some changes to the civil service law where we can hire, at least with new hires, and I understand this petition is not addressing that, but it has made it more flexible where we can hire one person in civil service to one person out. So I understand that it's been negotiated in, but just I think on the morals of civil service that I'm not going to support this petition.
Okay, anybody else? Council Noseworthy.
Thank you. I have very similar feelings to what have already been stated. I didn't know coming into this, I guess, that it was a done deal and talked about through contract negotiations. I would have much preferred maybe even a hybrid of some civil service as well as maybe recommendations and, other pieces to that to, for those who don't test well and feel similarly about the veterans' preference as well.
Okay, anyone else? Council Shalfo Zephyr?
Yeah, I did ask, I think, the chief when he was here about the veteran preference, and he did say that there still is in the city a veterans preference, I think, for hiring new patrol officers.
For hiring, yes.
Right, for hiring. So, that's a good thing. And I think the other things that the chief and captain mentioned and emphasized, I think, is that this allows them to tailor the positions and the training to specific needs here in the city of Leominster, and I think that that's a really good thing. And I understand why people support civil service. I understand it's, appropriate and everything. But I think in this instance, based on my conversations with the chief and then based on what he had to say earlier this evening, I do support it. And I had questions as well.
Yeah, I would just say, I think in this case, because it was negotiated as part of an agreement, it appears it's a win for both parties. And, just editorially, we're sending this to the legislature, and we send that down there with dissension, we're going to have a problem. Because it's going to be hard for whoever's toting this through the legislature to get it passed. And if that happens, then we have a mess on our hands. So, anyway, anything else? All right, I'm going to do this by roll call vote, starting with Councilor David Coyer.
Yay.
Councilor Arninger.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tosse.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Nay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-1. C11 has been adopted. Moving on to 9-26, is the chairman ready to report?
I am. Let's see. Susan Shalafou Zephyr, Brandon Robbins, councilors at large, Ward 1 Council Robert M. Tosse, and 10 registered voters. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to MU2 zoning. So we had our public hearing earlier this evening. We kept the public hearing open while we're waiting for the planning board, which is having their public hearing on October 20th at 6:35 p.m. So my recommendation at this point would be to give 926 further time.
All right, we're going to continue the public hearing till October 27. Hopefully the planning board doesn't take advantage of its full 21 days after its hearing to make its decision. Is that okay with you, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
I just want to double check. That's our calendar, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on. September.
So far, we only have one thing, and it's just
That's
a
right.
stop sign.
Yep.
So,
Okay, that's fine.
all right. Why don't we, what time would you like to start that? Maybe could be a lengthy one
6:30?
if it happens.
Would
Yeah.
6:30?
Okay. All right, so the recommendation is further time with a continued public hearing on October 27th at 6:30 p.m. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please recognize the usual manner. All right, that may be done. Moving on to 14-26, which is already scheduled for a public hearing on October 14.
Right, 14-26, John Frere Captain, 116 Central Street, Leominster Police Department request repealing Section 13-62 parking meter zones 2 hours, and then amending Section 13-44 the same between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. by adding the following. And then there were a list of streets that I don't think it's necessary to.
No,
to
it'd be
the-
merciful
tonight.
not to.
Okay, so there are a number of different streets that this includes, and we need to give this further time because the public hearing is scheduled for October 14th at 6:30 PM. So my recommendation is further time.
Councilor Tossi, I assume you're okay with that?
Yes, I agree.
All right, all those in favor of giving 14-26 further time, please recognize your usual manner. All right, 14-26 has been given further time. Moving on to 15-26, similar situation.
15-26, Elizabeth Wood, Director of Planning and Development, on behalf of Planning Board, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to battery energy storage systems. So this, we need to give further time. We have a public hearing scheduled on October 14th at 6:10 PM. So the recommendation is further time.
Very well, Councilor Tossi.
I agree.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor of giving 15-26 further time, please recognize your usual manner. 15-26 has been given further time. Moving on to C16.
Right, C16. C16, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that you adopt the Massachusetts School Building Authority MSBA project funding agreement for the proposed new Fallbrook School building project. Please reference the letter submitted April 11, 2025, which outlines the project details and identifies the funding sources, which I do have. So the mayor also sent a new letter dated September 10th that I'd like to read on this. Dated September 10th, 2025, City Council members, 25 West Street, Leominster, Mass. Dear members of the City Council, City Council Order C-16 that was sent down to finalize the project scope and budget with the MSBA. A public hearing is not required as one was already held during the debt authorization process. After the authorization was passed, the information was submitted to the MSBA, which resulted in the creation of this final document. The council's role at this stage is to accept the motion to move forward with the project. This represents one of the several phases in the overall process. The city must have the agreement signed and returned to the MSBA by September 29th. So I think for the public, should I read the letter from April 11th?
If you'd like.
Well, it does outline for the public what the financial, how it's going to be financed. This is dated April 11th, 2025. Dear members of the City Council, the process adopted by the city for the Fallbrook School construction project differs considerably from previous endeavors. As noted during the presentation pertaining to the establishment of the meals tax, the reimbursement mechanism has undergone significant changes. Historically, the MSBA represented the reimbursement rate as the funds the city would receive toward the project. Presently, the MSBA has indicated that the city's reimbursement rate is 74.46%, with an additional 5.47% attributable to the design process, resulting in an advertised rate of 79.93%. However, this figure is somewhat misleading as the city's actual estimated reimbursement rate is approximately 56.06%, thereby reflecting the true financial impact. The total project budget is defined as the amount necessary to construct a facility that fulfills the contemporary educational requirements mandated by the MSBA. It should be noted that the MSBA no longer provides funding as a fixed percentage of project costs. Instead, funding caps have been established for major cost categories including professional fees, construction costs, site costs, and FF and e-technology. These caps are purposefully set below prevailing market values to ensure that the district participates in sharing the costs. Furthermore, the overall project budget of $114,821,932 is substantial. Complicating matters further, $30,007,915 of these costs are deemed ineligible. Our minimum share of the total project is estimated at $50,453,691. This estimate is contingent upon the project's progression and the final pricing once it is bid out. The proposed primary funding source is the current budgeted debt service of $2.4 million, although additional funds will be necessary. We anticipate that $1 million of these additional funds will be provided by the newly established meal tax. Should the debt service requirements exceed our anticipated funding sources, the additional amount would need to be financed through a debt exclusion or excess levy capacity. Additional information is provided from our city's owner's project manager, Left Field. I think it's important for the community to understand that this is a huge project. The financing is in place. We're depending on the meals tax. If that runs short, then we'll have to revisit, the funding sources according to the mayor. So my recommendation would be to grant the order as submitted, and I ask that you check with my committee.
Councilor Tossi.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-16. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Frida.
I understand how we have to go about this with all the changes in the SBAB program, but it's unfortunate that we can't give a direct answer to the public as to how we're going to fund it. I think it's a major question. We're talking about $112 or $114 million school, and we aren't able to tell them that we have enough money that we can pay for it, or that we're going to have to raise the taxes, or we're going to have to go for a debt exclusion. I think people should at least be prepared for all three of the things facing them. Hopefully, we have enough with free cash and stabilization to be able to do it. The two of you are on the school building committee. Does anybody have any idea as to
It's largely dependent upon what the meals tax yields. We've asked the state to predict that for us, and you would think because the state is collecting 6.25% already, that they could do the math and add the 0.75% on the top and tell us pretty accurately what the past has been, but they say no. I think the city's estimates have been pretty conservative as far as the meals tax go. As we all know, things are getting cheaper when it comes to restaurants, and we seem to have a pretty vibrant restaurant scene here of late. So I'm somewhat cautiously optimistic that we're going to be within, if worst case scenario, we're going to be within $300,000 or $400,000 of the target, depending, of course, again, on what the bid comes back like. If that's the case, if that's the worst case scenario, we can find that money in free cash and the stabilization fund if we have to. I think debt exclusion is not going to happen. As we know, those don't work very well in the cities. So I'm cautiously optimistic it's going to work, and and fortunately we're in a position to be able to do it. But I think it's worth moving forward. As we all know, Fallbrook is an antiquated building, and we've put a lot of money into it in the past. Putting any more money into it is going to be not making any sense. And that side of the city deserves an updated building. So
I'm not questioning doing it.
Yeah.
I'm totally supportive for doing it.
Right.
I just would like to be able to tell the public how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think.
I was just going to say I agree with the council president. I feel like we just talked about parking downtown. On a Friday, Saturday night, those 1,000 parking spots are full. I really think that the city is being conservative with the meals tax numbers, and I think, to the council president's further point, we should be able to close that gap, or any gap that ends up existing with free cash.
We also just talked about eliminating a lot of the parking spaces and people not getting to the restaurant. And if they decide they're not going to bother, they'll go out of town. And I think that's what the restaurants are worried about. Then we're not going to get that meals tax. I mean, it's there's a lot. I know there are a lot of ifs. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of possibilities. And I'm not saying that we have the answer, but I just wish that we could at least give people a projection. If we do have to go for a debt exclusion, I think that would be the way we would go, and not a tax increase. But we have tax levy capacity too.
We don't want to do that. I'll share with you this. Back in 2017, when we had a little crisis with the school department based on the then superintendent's overspending the budget, if we all remember, David LaPlante, who was our treasurer at the time, treasurer collector, suggested the meals tax as an option back then. And again, you know, the idea was, well, if we were going to do it, we're going to earmark it because we didn't think the public public might be more apt to be more favorable if it was used for education, for example. And the estimates that Mr. LaPlante came up with back then were well over $1 million. And that's in 2017 dollars. And I think that, if I remember correctly, when the mayor came down here, they were talking about a number substantially under $1 million. So I'm optimistic that the number is going to be higher than was advertised. So we'll know pretty soon as these figures start coming in. So, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yep, I just did some quick math. So when you add the stabilization fund with the capital stabilization fund, which also has like over $2 million in it, we're at $25 million plus. And that's not including the cash that we're going to get certified, you know, shortly during the fall. So I think it's done. I think, you know, what's been laid out for a plan is very conservative. And oh, by the way, we have $25+ million that we can make up in any, you know, for any part of that debt service. So I'm not worried about it at the moment.
Yeah.
You including the levy limit in that as well? Because we have $6 million levy limit besides.
Yeah, that's another source, but that's the one we don't want to use.
Absolutely.
That's why, I mean, it's hard to ask people to pay.
Both options are bad, and hopefully we don't have to use either of them. I think to further your point as well, I think Gardner has the meals tax, if I'm remembering the city correctly, and they're bringing in close to $1 million, and we're. I think our restaurant scene is a little bit bigger than that.
No offense to Gardner.
No offense to. Sorry, Madam Clerk.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to do this by roll call. Starting with Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tossi.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
I'll be recorded as yay. C16 is granted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 16-26, from building a school to a stop sign.
Yeah, 16-26, Mark C. Bedanza, Ward 4 Councilor, request to amend Section 13-77, stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for eastbound traffic on Givry Circle at the intersection of Gordon Street. So this, we have a public hearing on this on October 27th, 2025 at 6:50 p.m., so my recommendation would be further time.
Okay, Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 16-26 further time, please recognize usual manner. And 16-26 is given further time. Moving on to Public Safety and Traffic Committee, and 7-26.
7-26, Carrie Noseworthy, Ward 5 Councilor, requests the installation of a four-way stop at the intersection of Abbott Avenue and Lindell Avenue to address ongoing safety concerns. So we heard this, you know, this evening. I mean, this is an ongoing problem. The police department, they have put in time and resources to do, you know, traffic studies, traffic counts. They understand the problem. I think we all understand the problem, but nobody has a solution that, you know, is a quick and easy fix. So I guess my recommendation would be to deny 7-26 and then move forward with the Public Safety and Traffic Committee and try to work with the mayor's office and the police department to come up with something that's going to work for that corner. Those sightlines are a real problem. You know, 40, I counted up 40 in the chart that Captain Fair provided. And that's a lot of accidents. And, you know, the sightlines, and also Mrs. Umel, who was talking about the people trying to cross the street there. I mean, if you try to cross even further beyond, you know, the intersection, you know, from the parking lot to the trail there, it's beautiful. But, you know, people come flying off of there, and I'm afraid somebody's going to get, you know, it's a tough area. So anyways, it's a problem. I think we all know it's a problem. The police department knows it's a problem. The four-way stop signs are not going to work, I think, for a variety of reasons, and I understand that. But I don't want to drop this completely. I think that we need to just keep poking to see what we can get, maybe with the DPW and the mayor's office and the police department. We can all address that problem. So my recommendation would be to deny 7-26.
Do you remember when you could take a right at the end of Abbott Ave and go east on Route 2 and then take a U-turn?
I sure
and
do.
get on Abbott Ave?
I absolutely, we cross on foot. We used to cross Route 2 from Abbott Avenue to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Walked across Route 2. There were no barriers in the middle. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm sure it was dangerous. We used to do it.
Be more dangerous today.
Way more, right.
Yeah. Councilor Tosse?
I agree.
All right. Heard the unanimous recommendation to deny 7-26. Councilor Frida?
Through the chair to the chair, I don't know if you remember back in 2013, someone made a suggestion that we make Abbott Avenue coming towards town a one-way. And that might have taken care of putting the stop signs up. It was somebody, and I think everybody just sat here and said, okay, then how about everybody on Abbott Avenue, 2 houses down, would have to go all
the way around.
Down out onto Merriam and come back. So, I mean, there was a lot of discussion back then with a lot of different ideas, but none of them worked.
Right. But I think some of the things that Captain Freer brought up about, maybe the trustees will have to move some of those stone walls back. I mean, it's a project, but they can move those back, to make it safer for people trying to access their property. So I wish that there was an easy answer, but there isn't. And I understand, but I do want to continue talking about some kind of, traffic rotary. And I don't know that one has ever been designed. I think we could have the DPW look at it or somebody look at that, and maybe they could do something that doesn't take a lot of land away from, those four corners. But I don't know. So we need to explore that is what I'm saying. Okay. So the petition, do you have anything to say, Councilor Noseworthy, as the petitioner?
No, I just want to agree with everything that you just shared. I mean, I think in working with the UMLs throughout this time and looking at the situation, as was already stated, the four-way stop probably wasn't the way to go, but I definitely wanted to further the discussion so we can get to an answer for increased safety, because there have already been 2 accidents just since I've become counselor.
Right.
So, thank you.
And I also wonder how many accidents aren't necessarily reported.
Correct.
I mean, if they're little fender benders,
Oh,
people say,
they
okay, we're
keep
just going to
going.
keep going, that they don't even call the police.
Yeah.
So, that's
All
my
right.
recommendation. Oh, right.
Councilor Andrew?
Just one solution is obviously denying this thing is the appropriate thing to do. But one of the solutions that Captain Fair mentioned was having the hedges trimmed. That would be an easy, quick solution to partially eliminate this problem.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
that should be brought up maybe.
Thank you. Yep. Councilor Robinson. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is good?
Yeah, good.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I'm good.
I don't know who's telling me to speak, the chair or the president, both.
Let you shine the light on us.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you, both of you. The other thing that I recall when we were talking about the Mechanic Street speed issue as well, the potential of not permanent speed tables, but ones that can be moved out during the winter. Maybe that's another way to look at that as well. I know that the sight line and the curvature of the road obviously is the bigger issue here, but speed tables will slow people down and they'll come around the corner slower. So if there's a temporary solution, maybe it's definitely going to be quicker than a rotary.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Noseworthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just sort of to echo what the councilor at large said, absolutely about trimming back hedges and the stones and everything. Again, being new to the council, I'd certainly like to learn more about how that actually works, because obviously the resident isn't going to be expert in sight lines and safety and knowing exactly where to trim bushes back. So I would be interested in just learning if there's policy or protocol on who designates those sight lines, who does them, and then who comes back from the city to make sure that they're within the parameters of safety. Thank you.
In the public easement, the DPW can do it, but if it's on private property, you're going to need the cooperation of the landowner.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right,
so-
which Mrs. Umel said that the trustees are in, as
Yeah,
in the MRPC. I mean,
They would be.
they would
yeah,
be.
I think so.
Yeah, we can work with them.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have to vote. All those in favor of denial, please indicate in the usual manner. All right, so 7-26 is denied. Moving on to new business and first readings of an ordinance, starting with 10-26.
10-26. Okay, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Council, request to amend Chapter 13, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 13-75, entitled Speed Limits Specific Streets, and add the following: Old Mill Road from Willard Street to Jungle Road at 25 miles per hour. And the ordinance is, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Section 13-75 of the revised ordinances entitled, quote, Speed Limits, Specific Streets, end quote, is hereby amended by inserting the following text. Old Mill Road from Willard Street to Jungle Road at 25 miles per hour. My recommendation would be that we adopt the first reading.
Council Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of what was formerly 10-26. Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arender.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tossi.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And we record as yay. The first reading is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 12-26.
12-26, John Frere, Captain, 116 Central Street, Leominster Police Department. Request to amend Section 13-88.3, right turn restriction by adding the following. No driver of a vehicle traveling northbound on Central Street at the intersection of Pleasant Street and Park Street shall make a right-hand turn onto Monument Square. And the ordinance reads, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Section 13-88.3 of the revised ordinances entitled Right Turn Restriction is hereby amended by inserting the following text. No driver of a vehicle traveling northbound on Central Street at the intersection of Pleasant Street and Park Street shall make a right-hand turn onto Monument Square. My recommendation would be that we adopt the first reading.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant the first reading of what was formerly 12-26. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arender.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tossi.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
That should be recorded as yay. The first reading is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 13-26.
13-26, John Frere, Captain, 116 Central Street, Leominster Police Department. Request to amend Section 13-88.2, right lane must turn right, by adding the following, Monument Square northbound onto Mechanic Street. And the ordinance reads, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Section 13-88.2 of the revised ordinances entitled Right Lane Must Turn Right is hereby amended by inserting the following text, Monument Square northbound onto Mechanic Street. And my recommendation would be to adopt the first reading.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the first reading of what was formerly 13-26. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arender.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tossi.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
That shall be recorded as yay. The first reading is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to old business and the second reading of an ordinance.
Second reading of an ordinance 4-26, Glenn Eaton, Executive Director, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, request to amend the zoning ordinance to add the MFOD to the abbreviations table for overlay districts in Article 3. The ordinance reads as follows. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 22 of the revised ordinances entitled Zoning. Chapter 22 of the revised ordinances entitled Zoning is hereby amended at Table 3, Table of Uses, by inserting the following text to the overlay district abbreviation table. The abbreviation is MFOD. The overlay district is called multifamily. Section 22-33A on page 64. And my recommendation would be to adopt the second reading.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt a second reading of the ordinance formerly 4-26. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those that, by roll call, Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arender.
Yay.
Councilor Noseworthy.
Yay.
Councilor Tossi.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Robbins.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay. The second reading is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Is any other old or new business before us? Councilor Frida?
It's not either old or new, and it probably doesn't apply to us. but I know Kenny Ricca has expressed an interest in having a discussion with us regarding possibility of changing the location of some of the downtown activities, at least while construction's going on, either at Doyle Field or Carter Park, depending on what it is. I said it wasn't our jurisdiction. He wants to approach us, and I'm relaying the message.
Okay.
Because it's a serious concern with a lot of the businesses.
Okay. Well, with that, it has to go. That's the mayor's, for the most, I mean, we approved the JA fair, but other than that, I don't think we've approved a single street closing for any other event,
No.
right?
No.
So,
Through the chair to the clerk, do we give licenses out, though? I mean, does the city clerk's office provide licenses for, like, the farmer's market or anything else that's downtown? Any other activities or things like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
all right, well, anything else?
I do have one thing I want to share.
Okay.
This Thursday, I'm going to have the ballot drawing for the November election to see where everybody lies as far as the ballot goes. I'm going to do it in the chamber Thursday at 5 o'clock, and then the ballots will be printed, just so everybody knows. If any of you or any of the people in the public want to come, it is open to the public. Anybody that's on the ballot and that has a representative, whomever, you're welcome to come.
Okay.
What time
Thank
is
you.
the chamber legislative reception? Is it 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
5
is.
to 7.
Yes, 5.
Well, we could,
You can be-
if you're really interested, you could be a little late. All right, community calendar. I just want to say that the JA Festival was off the charts. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen more people. Of course, the weather was great. And I just want to say, thank you to Rick Martian for doing such a wonderful job, and our DPW, our police department, Sally Poria for all the decorations downtown. They look fantastic. It was really a great community event. And definitely was a vibrant thing, and I was really amazed by how distant some of these people travel to come to this. So we are becoming a festival capital, as the Councilor at Large notes to me just a moment ago. But be that as it may, it was well done, and it was a great event. So
The food was really good, too.
it was, yeah. Everybody did a nice job. Councilor Noseworthy?
Just briefly, Mr. President, I wanted to echo everything you said, but also to share similarly about the Hispanic Heritage Festival. I think in light of the way things are these days, thank you to our police department and everybody involved in that. Everybody had a great time. It was fun. It was safe. And I think that says a lot about our city. So.
Okay. Good. Councilor Frida?
Just a reminder that the council is invited to the ribbon cutting of Clear Path at 99 Church Street on Thursday. It is invitation only, so because of the amount of people that have been invited and the lack of parking and logistics, so.
Okay.
Make sure they don't park in the garage.
It's a long walk, right? All right, anything else? A motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much, all.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.